It's been a while, but we're back here on TYT Sports with some Let's Talk Tactics because this game is going to hold a lot of significance in sculpting both of these teams' potential finishing spot. In the league, it's Arsenal versus Chelsea. It's Wenger versus Hiddink. Not the same magnitude as Wenger versus Mourinho, but that won't take away from the rivalry that is the London derby between Arsenal and Chelsea. So let's talk some tactics. Straight to the lineup here. Arsenal are coming into this game potentially with two of their biggest players back and ready to go. Ozil has been confirmed by Wenger that he's going to be back into the starting lineup after he missed their previous game against Stoke, whereas Alexis Sanchez has been teased to be playing. It's not really sure whether or not the Chilean is going to start this game or not, but I'm going to put him in there because I would love to see him in this game, and I think Arsenal fans in general would love to see him play, and it's going to that exact reason going to play into why I think Arsenal have a great chance of demolishing Chelsea in a certain position because Alexis Sanchez might be back. So let's take a look at this lineup. Petr Cech in goals against his old club. Going to be exciting to see that as he partakes and consistently is doing so well at Arsenal this season. So let's see if he continues that form. The back line of Bellerin, Mertesacker, Koscielny and Monreal, probably the most stable back four that Arsenal have had in a while. They've been consistently doing well. Mertesacker has surprised me this season. He deserves a lot of credit. Really showed up his performances, and him and Koscielny, when both fit and playing together, are strong back there. Flamini and Ramsey. Flamini, of course, continuing to be that ever so persistent backup to anyone who plays in there. He's never really, I use this analogy a lot, he's never really the bride, but he is the perfect bridesmaid in there. As Coquelin is out injured, and Flamini will come in and do the job with Ramsey alongside him. Ramsey, I'm sure his head is grown ever so much in size. Not only is he a handsome footballer, I'm sure he gets a lot of attention from the ladies, but it was tipped that Barcelona were looking at the Welshman, so I'm sure that would boost his confidence. In there, Joel Campbell at right, who's been doing a stand-up job, Ozil, Sanchez and Giroud, who is Arsenal's top goal scorer at the moment, and thanks to Jason Rubin for calling him Grioud. Don't know who Grioud is, Jason, so I'm calling you out on camera. It's Giroud. Okay, so we'll move forward. The reason why I want to talk about Alexis Sanchez is no matter who plays in there, if it's Sanchez who comes back into the starting lineup or Walcott, their main objective in this game tactically is to exploit Ivanovic. Ivanovic, when I go into Chelsea's side, I will talk about what they need to do to try and shore up him, because looking at the Everton game, every single goal they scored came from either an error on that side, on Chelsea's right-hand side, or from him and Willian not communicating well. And it just really is a weakness for this Chelsea team at the moment. So what I advise is going to come down to two things. This individual right here. Monreal, I think, hands down, has been one of the best fullbacks this season. Attacking, going forward. When he goes forward, Arsenal have done a better job this year is shoring things up. I talk about the horseshoe, this looped movement. When one goes forward, the other needs to tuck in. And Arsenal have done a better job this season. Last season, they were caught out with this. Bellerin definitely does like to get forward. And if he does, Flamini will tuck in here. And Arsenal will form this kind of like back three position, which is strong enough to hold a counter-attack. But quite often, if Monreal does the overlap and run, Bellerin will tuck in and they'll hold that sturdy performance. But against Chelsea, what happens is Willian will often be caught pushing forward, and Chelsea recently have not been withholding possession as well in the middle of the park as they should. Arsenal need to turn this into their most prominent weakness. If they lose the ball, Arsenal need to be looking to flood these flanks, push Monreal forward, and what that does is that will distract Ivanovic, either force him to come outside and pick up Monreal, which will leave the room for Alexis Sanchez to do what he does best, cut inside onto his right foot and cause havoc in there. If not, it's going to create this massive gap in here that Sanchez can try and pull away, and you know if there's one man in the world that's going to find him with a pass, it's Mesut Ozil. So in doing so, they're going to exploit that gap that happens quite a lot in Chelsea's game. I know seems like I'm heaping a lot of criticism already on Chelsea fans and Chelsea team so far, but that's what tactics is. I'm going to explain what Arsenal can do, and then I'm going to go over and counter-explain what Chelsea need to do to shore that up. But the way that Giroud plays, he's going to sit right on that last man, maybe peel off deep and try and split Zuma, who often gets a little rash in his tackles. He's a good defender, and he's got good recovery pace, but at certain times, you'll see Zuma come out and try and win that ball in that area, instead of just letting maybe the holding midfielder take up that role, and instead goes back into his position. But Giroud will try and do that. He'll try and tease him out, and that will allow Ozil that gap to play through. Ozil doesn't need a gap. He can thread the ball through the eye of a needle. We know this. He does very well at picking up the ball in the pocket and finding those gaps. That's the clear factor I think Arsenal are going to push forward in doing. Joel Campbell will do his job, is trying to be the weak side attacking threat. What that means, going back to Tactics 101, weak side attacking is if the ball finds its way into here, into Giroud, they'll find the ball out wide. Maybe Alexis Sanchez will come in there. And if they start to attack down this area, what will happen naturally is Chelsea's defence will split across. That's where Joe Campbell should be in this area for the weak side attack. That switch of play that Chelsea are often susceptible to. So in retrospect for Arsenal, they have all the weapons that they need to win this game. Chelsea were a little bit more industrial in terms of what they wanted to achieve towards the end of the game against Everton. But the same thing is those defensive lapses hindered them. And that's why I'm going to talk about Chelsea's, I would say more often than not, the defensive decisions that need to be shored up in order to try and get a point from this game, because Arsenal, of course, are going to be the favourites. So let's take a quick look. We'll switch over to the blue side of London and see how they're going to shore up in this game. So over to the boys in blue. This is a lineup that I imagine they will start with based on what they've been performing going with, in the last few games. Courtois in goals. If I was to have my way, if I was in Gus Hiddink's shoes at the moment, I wouldn't play Ivanovic. I know there's not a lot of options in there to do so, to go forward, but I mean, for one, specifically if Alexis Sanchez is going to play in this game, I would look to be partnering him against Azpilicueta, who at times last season, I would be on record saying he's the best one-on-one defender in the league. By no means has he hit that height so far this season, but he's still a good one-on-one defender, doesn't dive in as much, doesn't get caught as high up the field as Ivanovic does, and it's kind of surprising because when you look at both of them, who appears to be the more attacking fullback, it is Azpilicueta, but Ivanovic loves to get forward, and he is useful. Trust me, he scored many goals last season, but this season many people have found him out, and it seems like Hiddink is persevering with him and is going to continue to put him in there. But that's why it's essential, I think, that Mikel and Matic start, because Mikel needs to be, I would say, the safety net for Ivanovic if he does push forward, and I will touch on that in a minute. And then the midfield three, I know Hazard has been deemed fit and ready to come back into the team. I like what Pedro was doing in the last game against Everton. I like those dynamic runs, cutting across the back line, causing all sorts of problems for Everton. I think they should stick with him in this game. Fabregas, I think this is a game for Oscar, but I don't think that Hiddink is going to play Oscar. I think he's going to start with Fabregas in there because there is somewhat signs of a rejuvenated season for Fabregas. He linked up well with Diego Costa. I think he's going to start Willian, as we know, always a threat going forward. And Diego Costa, a new man with Gus Hiddink behind him, pushing him forward. So let's talk about the main thing that I just mentioned there with Arsenal. How could you possibly counteract this clear weakness in Chelsea's team without taking Ivanovic out? Because that would be the easy option, but I don't think Ivanovic will be taken out. So what they have to do is they have to play two holding midfielders. Mikel often likes to drift forward when Chelsea have possession, but always he needs to be aware that if Chelsea have possession in this area, they've not been doing, I would say, the best job of containing possession. Arsenal will try to crowd them out, and as soon as they get that ball out, you better believe me, this run's going to happen, and this run's going to happen. It's either going to be fed into Alexis or out wide to Monreal to cut in, and Ivanovic, as I mentioned just in that previous part about what Arsenal will do, he'll either make this decision to go wide and mark Monreal. What I would like him to do is simply this. Track back, have Kurt Zouma potentially cover him in this area, and have Mikel make that decision to go and back up his fullback. And that will leave space in there for Ozil, but that's what Matic is in there for. Matic last season was positionally probably one of the best in the world in terms of his awareness and everything around him. This season, he's been caught a little bit distracted with trying to take up too much of a role. His job, if Mikel is to come across here, Matic just needs to fill this role. Just simply protect that back line to prevent these easy passes through, because if Sanchez doesn't get the ball to feet straight away, he'll make this loop and run in behind, and that will give a clear seam right there whether Ivanovic is going to shore his game up in this situation. I don't know, but against Everton, those gaps were so prominent. Go back, watch the tape. I'm not just rambling here. There are clear facts that Everton took advantage of this, and you better believe that Arsenal will do so. Going forward, last point for Chelsea, Diego Costa is more mobile. He doesn't just check deep for the ball, which he did for one of Chelsea's clear chances in the first half. He's making these runs deep, and what that's going to do is it's going to attract Mertesacker to come out. If Mertesacker's smart, he'll hold his position, but if he's not, he'll follow Diego Costa, and he's got that speed and aggression like he showed against Everton for that first goal, and it's a long ball over the top for Fabregas in behind. That's that same versatility that he showed last season. Wasn't always making those dynamic runs. He was dropping deep, spinning in behind. That's what Diego Costa has to continue to do if Chelsea want any chance of emerging with a point or at least 3 points. But to round it up, I don't see Chelsea emerging with 3 points. I don't see Chelsea emerging with a point in this game. So yes, for all the Arsenal haters out there, I'm going to side with the Gunners in this game. I think it's going to be 2-0. I think it's going to be a comfortable win for the Gunners. I don't see Chelsea scoring. I may be wrong, and I want to know what you guys think all in the comment section below. As I mentioned, we haven't done tactics for a while here on TYT Sports, but this game, significant. We'll be bringing you a lot more tactics coverage toward the end of the season. This race is wide open. Huge game here for Arsenal. Do you think they'll pull it off? Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at Francis_Maxwell and at TYT Sports.